What is a club date? A club date is a single engagement in the New York City metropolitan area performed by a musician, singer, or entertainer, either at a wedding, bar mitzvah, corporate party. Even one night in a nightclub could be called a club date under certain circumstances. And any given week, there are thousands of musicians and entertainers performing club dates in the New York City area. Very often when we get together, we trade stories of funny or amusing things that happen on club dates. And I thought you might like to hear some of those stories, so here are some of those stories.
Let's see, we were at the Crest Hollow last week, and Glenn Franke was the trombone player on the shop.
We were playing like for an hour straight Horace.
And there was a curtain behind him. We thought it was the wall.
While I was standing, my legs had pushed the chair very close to the edge of the stage, so when I sat down, I just went,
and boom, he went down. He just disappeared behind the curtain, two stages down.
Right off the back and down into the curtain. Behind us, there were a set of wooden doors that they had closed, and I went through those, landed on my back on a pile of those potted trees that they lined up in the hallway.
As we're reaching,
I'm laying there on my back in the hallway of the Crest Hollow Country Club with people in tuxedos and yarmulkes all bending over trying to pick me up.
Wham! Comes the speaker down right in the place Glenn was. I mean, it was unbelievable. And it missed his trombone by this much.
Meanwhile, the back of my chair caught the wire from the PA speaker that was on a very high pole to the left of me. And what happened was when I slid back, the legs of the chair took the wire off the stage with me and yanked the PA speaker down, so that as soon as I hit on the ground, PA speaker went bam, right where I was sitting. Everybody in the band stood up and looked and said, "Man, you are so lucky you fell. Because if you didn't, that speaker would have landed right on your head." Nobody had a clue.
Mystical is the word.
In fact, the guitar player, Carmine D'Amico, he says, "And I went to help you. If I'd have helped you and kept you from falling, you would have gotten killed." Everybody stood there in disbelief.
So if anybody has an idea as to what this mystery might be, give a call to Glenn Franke.
The mystery is that nobody had a personal injury attorney and do something with it. The trauma.
It was not a warning. It wasn't a warning. It was a. We can't explain.
The warning is I was struck mute on my birthday, on my 40th birthday.
You were struck mute?
I ruptured my vocal cord. It's not enough I'm a chick singer and I'm turning 40, right? And the night before I'm singing I Will Survive. And I go, I go to the doctor the next day, I go, I must be having an allergic reaction. With the scope down, he goes, "Oh no, you've ruptured a vocal cord. You can't speak or sing for a month." I'm like, and it was my 40th birthday. I'm going, I'm struck mute on my 40th birthday. This is the hand of God. Get out of the business.
Another mystery.
Stay home.
2, 3, 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to dance.
This is about a bride, but not at a wedding. This is pre-wedding, about 8 months before the wedding. No, maybe 5 months before the wedding. So I'm supposed to sell her a band, right? I was playing a bar mitzvah with this very funny band, and the other singer was Idina Menzel, who went on to perform in Rent, the hit musical. Supposed to show a video, show up at the apartment, ding dong, ring the doorbell. She opens the door, soaking wet hair, towel on, right? I said, oh, I'm early. Is it okay if I come in? Oh, no, please come in. However, this was before Idina's big starring role, and we were doing this bar mitzvah. Okay, so during in the outer area, in the patio, they were having the little sundaes for the kids. You know, everybody gets their own ice cream. Come in. She takes the towel off. She's totally naked. Okay? Never met this woman before. She says, "Do I look fat?" And there was this little kid who had just had a plate of whipped cream.
And, I think Fred Vigdor says, oh, what's so funny is where, you go like this at the bottom of the thing and, you just like right in their face, you say, hey, does that smell? So we're like, oh, we should do that. That'll be so funny.
I said, well, I've never met you. You look great. No, you don't look fat. You look really good. She said, because I'm pregnant, I'm like 5 months pregnant and, I'm just so happy. And this is my husband. She said, oh, that's nice.
So Deena goes, oh, I'll do it. That'd be so funny. So she goes over to this kid who's holding a thing of whipped cream. And instead of going like this to him, she just goes like this. And the thing goes up in the air, smashes down on the ground, and gets whipped cream all over my legs and Adina's legs.
And she proceeds to get dressed and walk around the house. And, oh, you want something to eat? No. I said, well, it's time to show you the video. She said, oh, I don't have a VCR.
And we're standing there, and Fred Vigdor, who's madly in love with Adina, is like, oh, could I lick that off your leg,
I said, well, you knew I was coming with the video. Don't worry, I'm going to ring my neighbor's doorbell. She opens the door, she goes across the hall, ding dong. Hi, I live over here. My name is Pam, and I'm having a baby. Can we come in? The neighbor is like, you can smell Vicks vapor rub, right? She's like blowing her nose. Okay, come in, right? Very sick.
So we're sitting there and like we're wiping the whipped cream off of us, and all of a sudden I feel this thing on my head, just like this whomp right on top of my head, and I go like, what the hell was that? And it was an ice cream cone upside down that this kid had put on my head, thinking I was Adina.
We go in, we sit on the couch. I put in the video, right? And Pam, the naked one, turns to her neighbor and says, oh, how long have you lived here? Really? Not looking at the video at all. Every couple of seconds, she'd look back at the video and go, oh, yeah, man, I dig his vibe. Cool. Okay, and so, yeah, the apartment's nice.
So just without even thinking about it, I took it off and I just went, whap, right at his jacket, and it landed right on his chest. And I realized what I had done. I was like, oh my God. And I get up and I go running to the bathroom.
And she goes, oh, what's his name? I said, oh, that's Dave Lavender. She says, Lavender. I'm going to name my baby Lavender. I'm booking you. I dig your vibe. I like your energy. You're booked. Show me where to sign. That's it. She didn't watch one thing on the video. Okay.
And the kid goes running, and he's trying to get me, and the band grabs him and like holding him by the thing, and I go running into the bathroom, and I'm hiding in the bathroom, and all the little girls come in, and I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Oh my God, like, do you know who it was? Oh my God, I go, like, I don't know, this guy Johnny, we hate Johnny, oh my God, he's like, that's so funny, oh my God. And then Adina comes in, and she is laughing so hard, she pees in her pants.
We go back to her apartment, and I see beyond the glass sliding door for the terrace, a dog, a golden retriever.
And she's standing there going, oh my God, I peed in my pants. And all the girls are screaming, and like the kids, the boys are outside the door going, let me in. And the kid wants to kill me.
Oh my God, I didn't know you had a dog. Let the dog in, I love it. No, she's very active. I said, no, I love dogs, let the dog in. Chelsea comes in, grabs the video out of my hand, starts running around the apartment. The tape is like flying.
So eventually, like, I have to come back out to play the gig. So we open the door, and I like see the kid. I'm like, we have to have a truce because I have to go play the party. So he's like, all right, I will. And so we go back out, and I see the kid like lurking by the bandstand, just staring at us and really mad at us.
Chelsea dropped the video. Chelsea dropped her coat. Chelsea's running around with my coat, the scarf, the video, the whole bit. Okay, fine.
At the end of the gig, he comes over to me, and I see he's got like a big mark on his face, and I say, what happened to you? And he goes, well, when I was running after you, somebody in your band grabbed me right in the head, So this kid was going home to his parents, with like a bruise over here. He had a big ice cream stain on his jacket.
Now the husband comes home. He's about this tall. He's wearing a T-shirt that says personal trainer.
I guess it was like 3 days later, I call Adina up, and I call her up and I go, hello, Adina, this is Mrs. Saperstein, and I would like you to please pay the cleaning bill for my son's jacket.
Honey, look, this is Robin for the band. Right, Neil Capolongo was there. We're going to book this band, and I'm so happy. You know how you love music. Tell her what kind of songs you like. Got anything to eat? No. Tell her, about the first dance. Yeah, whatever.
And apparently Adina called Jay Prince and goes, I can't believe you gave that woman my telephone number.
Honey, do you have any cash? Gives me $500 in cash. That's it. That's the end of the story. They book it. Jimmy does her wedding, Jimmy Vali. That's it. That's it. The baby was named Lavender.
That is the story. Swear to God.
Unfortunately, the band leader came in late, frazzled, and was handed a piece of paper with some names and some stuff scribbled on there that he didn't have a chance to review. And he introduced the parents of the bride, Mr. and Mrs. DiCrescenzo. They made their entrance. It was very nice. At which point he glanced down quickly at the next introduction and said, and now the parents of our groom. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mr. and Mrs. DiCiaste. At which point you could hear a pin drop in the room, because Mr. and Mrs. DiCiaste were not about to make any appearance since they were deceased. And that was what had been written down on this thing, scribbled. So that's the story, and that's the funny part about it. And then everybody laughed and had a good time. Anyway, just a final little tidbit. I fucked the bride.
So now I'm getting up to the meat of the matter. They made it a point when they gave me this list early on before we started to play that Dad had just passed away a couple of months ago, and so Mom, the bride's mom, was walking in with Cousin Joey. Okay, you got that, Ed? Yeah, I got that. It's written right here on the sheet, you know. What am I, an idiot? And in comes Mom and Cousin Joey, and I announce, and now the parents of the groom, Mr. and Mrs. McGillicuddy. Well, everything stops dead. They stop dead in their tracks. Mom and, not Dad, Mom and Cousin Joey stop dead in their tracks. I look up, and there's 5 or 6 guys, eye to eye with me. And the camera is now panned right on us with these giant lights. Now I'm really sweating profusely. The bridegroom or the best man look at me face to face. They're ready to kill. And now you can hear a pin drop. Everybody in the wedding is standing up looking at me and him. He looks me in the face and he goes, "Are you gonna fuck this whole wedding up?" I said, "Look, I'm sorry. I know I just messed this up." I said, "But we really only have 2 options here." I said, "Either we can just forget it and go back to where we were and pick this up and try to make this a decent party." I said, "Or we all could roll around on the dance floor now." The guys looked at me. They didn't know what to make of me. They were so frustrated, they didn't know what to say. They went, "Ugh," and they turned around and walked back to their spots.
I remember one particular time when I was actually a guest at a party and sitting at the head table with the host and hostess who were making a bar mitzvah for their son. And as is the custom these days, the bar mitzvah boy makes his own speeches about people that are coming out of the audience. And in this particular case, there was a speech for a grandfather who had just recently passed on. And the bar mitzvah boy made a teary-eyed speech requesting a moment of silence. "Can we have a moment of silence for my grandpa, Poppy?" And everyone was teary-eyed, and the band leader wasn't paying attention. And as soon as the bar mitzvah boy finished his little speech, the band leader started bellowing on the PA system at top volume, as was his instinctive duty to do, asking for a round of applause. And his exact words were, "Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Grandpa Poppy, or he's never going to come up to light that candle." Quite a faux pas.
All right, we did a wedding once where the bride got up and spoke, and she said that when she first met her husband, she thought he was a doctor. She was very impressed. He was wearing a beeper, because back then, let's see what year is this, 92, not everybody wore beepers then. So if you were wearing a beeper, they thought you were a doctor or someone important. So She found out, lo and behold, he was an undertaker. They actually got married, though, in a cemetery. So I thought that was a pretty unusual story. That was good. So that's just a picture. I don't know if you can see that. There it is.
Okay, so we're on a club date for Ike Walkover.
Yeah, Ike Walkover, exactly.
Okay, Ike
4 years ago.
Yeah, okay. Here's at the party for Ike Walkover. Anyway, he says, where are you from? Italy and the whole thing. And I'm just like, the guy's playing Oompa, and Oompa feels good. He plays like a Jew, and the whole thing.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
No,
like it's
Okay,
that's true.
Okay. So, the club date's over. I don't see him.
For how many years I don't see him?
For a few years.
For a few years I don't see him.
Okay, now, next scene, cut. Now I'm doing the detour under the big E. Wait, hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
You got it. Okay.
On the detour under the big E. And I'm going like towards
Brooklyn.
Towards Brooklyn, to like a Ocean Parkway. Like in other words, towards the Belt. And I need to get back onto the Parkway. Hold on.
I think you're missing something.
Wait, no, I know exactly the spot.
Okay.
So they're like bordering our Bay Ridge. Anyway, I stop at the light. All of a sudden, I go like that. and some asshole hit him in the back. Immediately, my knee-jerk reaction. I'm gonna call him, get out of the car, insult him, the whole thing. He said, get out of the car, and I'm getting ready to use words like, motherfucker,
get the fuck out of here, and this and that.
and here's the scene, ready? I see the car, and the guy gets out of the car, hears it, and people already looking like what's gonna be. And next thing I said,
but one thing you missed. I called you 20 minutes earlier.
Yeah!
That's what you missed.
Yeah.
I called you. Remember, out of nowhere.
Yeah, he called me.
I called you. Arcady, how you doing? This is me. How you doing? I know we're gonna do some gigs together. And boom, we having an accident like 20 minutes later.
Can you make this up?
This is impossible to make up. That's it.
My first club date was actually with my father, and my brother was actually the drummer in the family, and he was playing with my father. And my brother couldn't make the gig, so my father knew that I was fooling around on my brother's drums, and he wanted me on the gig. Just about 15 minutes into the gig, my father said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to announce that my son Neil is playing drums. I'm very proud. Let's have a hand for him." And then everybody claps for me, and he turns around to me and he says, "Drum roll." And I say, "I don't know how to play a drum roll."
So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to ask you to please stand up once again. We need you out here to support the families. We'd like you to make a circle. You can have dessert when you're finished. Come on up and help out here, ladies and gentlemen. The band can't do this for you. The Mazinka.
What a bunch of fucking assholes. See what I gotta do for a living? This sucks. So now it's X-rated. What can I tell you?
I don't know. It's a pressure cooker when you do the gigs. It's a lot of pressure on you because you only get one take. So I guess personalities are enhanced, magnified, exaggerated, whatever. It's kind of like driving. When everybody's crazy man comes out, club dates are like that too. But, you got to learn how to stay cool. I'm learning. I mean, we've all heard the apocryphal story of the Hasidic wedding where the father of the bride had left like $25,000 in cash in his jacket pocket and hung it on a chair to go out and do the hora after the couple were married. Then when he returned, he discovered that the envelope was gone. $25,000 in cash was gone. The party went on. Of course, there was a lot of upset about this whole thing. And then, of course, when the wedding video was returned to them, they're watching the video, and he actually saw his new in-law, the father of the groom, take the envelope out of his pocket.
Valley Music, Dean speaking. No, he split. Get him on the cell. Bye. So you ready for me, Doctor? My dad had a gig, and he hired Bill Livonia and a whole bunch of other studio guys, because that's what my father used to do. He used to hire the cats, as he would say. And they had a gig on a boat that was going around around Manhattan Island, I should say. And what had happened was they all were feeling pretty good. I don't know what they were doing. We won't even mention that. But anyway, someone said to my dad, because they knew he was a real prankster, they said, I bet you don't have the guts to jump off this boat. And the way Billy tells the story is, he said, you mean that, man? He goes, yeah. He says, you don't have the guts to do it. He took off his watch, he took off his shoes, and in his tuxedo actually dived overboard at night into the Hudson River on a dare. Man, overboard, the guys were in shock. They weren't laughing at this point. They were very nervous. In fact, Bill was very nervous, because he kind of prodded him on that he started to take his shoes off and he was going to dive in too. But the captain held him back. And they came about and they found him. They threw him a life preserver. He came on. And when he finally got on board and was safe, the captain had said to him that they were complaining that the boat was loud from all the engines, and that there was a lot of problems with the volume of just the ship making a lot of noise. So what they decided to do was cut one of the engines so that it would cut the noise down. And actually, had that other engine been on, my father would have dived right into the propeller and been killed.
All of a sudden, because of the heat and the excitement, and they've been drinking a lot, the heavyset guy dancing with the heavyset girl trips, and he falls on top of her and slams her to the ground. And because they were dancing right near the stage, he pinned her under the risers, and she passed out and was stuck under the risers while the band continued to rock on, and we didn't know what to do. So first they told us to stop playing, and then when they realized how embarrassing it was that she was stuck under the risers, they told us to keep playing again, and that's what we did.
The robot story is unbelievable. Here we were at a bar mitzvah with a fairly good wedding band who had just lost their female singer and had a replacement.
The band leader was auditioning a female singer that night.
To be kind, she was a very pretty girl.
The people hired this robot to entertain the kids.
This robot is in the center of the room. It's being controlled by remote control from outside the room.
It's got a PA system, it's got video cameras for eyes.
There's another guy inside the room with a two-way mouthpiece telling the guy outside what to do with the robot.
This guy out in the van was supplying the voice for the robot. He also had a video monitor. He could see what was going on.
Make him spin around, make him stop, make him lift his arms.
And the first thing I noticed is that this robot was telling dirty jokes to the kids.
The robot is equipped with like a DJ setup, speakers, must have been 1,000 watts. He's as loud as our band. It's unbelievable.
We start to play the gig, and the robot is like stealing the entire show from the leader.
The robot is spinning in the center of the room. The kids love him. They've never seen anything like this. Well, our leader is really slowly but surely getting ticked off.
But he very calmly goes over to the guy with the headset, and he says, look, do me a favor. You're stealing all the kids, and I really would like to do some shtick with the kids. And the guy with the headset says, fuck you. So the leader very calmly comes back to the bandstand.
Our leader is getting steamier and steamier and steamier.
And at that point, he goes into Celebration, which was a very popular song at that time. My impression is that the guy with the headset said, let's screw this guy, because immediately the robot went out into the middle of the dance floor and started to play the record of Celebration loud.
The leader grabs the microphone. Hold it! Hold it!
Stop the band.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Everything stops. Everybody's watching us.
I can't go on like this with this robot competing with me.
Either that robot gets out of this room or I'm pulling my band out of the room. So the robot says,
"You're just jealous because the people like me more than they like you. You just don't like me. You don't like me because the kids like me more than you."
In this robot voice, kind of like Hal from 2001.
"And your band sounds terrible and your singer is out of tune. I sound better than you and your singer is out of tune."
Well, that did it for our band. We're all like hysterical behind behind the drums, the piano. We're crying, laughing. That does it for the leader. The leader is furious.
The band leader goes flying off the bandstand straight for the guy with the headset.
He jumps on the guy that's controlling the robot, starting to choke him.
I remember seeing his headset come off.
And that's it for the band. It's a disaster. We're watching, history in the making.
And the robot's going like this.
"Danger, danger."
I feel shy about telling my story because nothing really very exciting ever happens to me on club dates.
The way it goes. Cut. You know something? I'm tired of this nonsense with you people.
I mean, the club dates themselves are great, but nothing like dramatic. So I was working at a party, and they were wheeling out the cake on one of those, like, collapsible tables. And they went to go move the cake, and half the table came, and half the table decided not to. And then the cake said, boom, it went flying down. Just watched the whole thing go down. And the father was very cool. He was very calm. He just kind of turned and looked. And then the caterer came out, and he just started to, kind of pick up the cake, and he put it back onto the rickety table, and then it was standing right. And then he took the, the icing and everything that had fallen on the floor, and then he just started to scoop it up, zoop, and just kind of put it back on there, zoop, 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 and apply it back onto the cake like spackle. And nobody even blinked or anything, and I was so, shocked. But I must say, I thought to myself, now I finally have my own little club date story, even though it's G-rated. So that's my club date story.
Here's a story from my old roommate, John Arbo, the wonderful bassist, who told me the story of the job he was leading. And in those days, it was very popular to do the hokey pokey. And we would do some silly things in the course of that game where we would have the gentlemen roll up their pants legs and do the can-can. And as he was doing this, he noticed one guy wearing red socks. Thought that was very funny and thought it would be funny to embarrass this man, and came behind him and was pointing at him and making a big fuss when he noticed the horrified faces of all the other guests. He then looked down and noticed that the poor fellow with the red socks had a prosthetic leg on that he'd been pointing at the whole time. John shrunk to about 1.5 inches. I don't think he's grown any bigger since then.
And with one office, I have been working with them for a while, and for 2 years, they have been promising me a raise. And every week I asked for my money, and I'd ask for my money, and they said, you'll get next week, talk to me next week, talk to me next week. So 2 years later, I get the raise. It was for $5, okay? $5. I was so upset. I went after the gig and got in my car, and I waited for the band leader to come out the door because I was going to run him down with my car.
We're playing at this club, and we were set up on stage. Again, this was one of those nights where we were doing a lot of smoking and drinking and heckling and fooling around with the audience. I mean, we would do crazy things. We'd invite people up, we'd do things. And anyway, our crazy keyboard player.
For this particular performance, he got up on a go-go girl stand and he was doing Try a Little Tenderness.
He sees this girl and he gets her up there and he joins her up on the stage and we're standing there. And
while he was singing and really getting into it with his eyes closed,
she's dancing sexy to him, you know, and she's doing all this stuff like, you know, kind of like they do in the bars, you know. And he's going, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. So she jokingly starts to unbuckle his pants.
He kept singing.
And we, the band members, were going, don't go there, don't do it. And the audience is like going, yeah, 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 you know. And she's doing this dance all around him. And he's just standing there smiling. And she undoes the belt and she pulled the belt out of the loops. I remember that because she started doing the da-da-da-da dance.
He kept singing.
And we are hysterical and we're saying, how far is he going to let this go? She gets on her knees in front of him and grabs the side of his pants where the pockets are and starts kind of pulling them down a little bit at a time.
He kept singing.
And we're going, don't do that. You don't do that. And she's going, no, 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 no. So she's getting real brave. So with one big yank, she had taken the pants and went, wham, boom. And the place let out a gasp. Well, you see, at the time, none of us wore underwear. And I guess it was just Popeye. It just boing. And we fell out laughing. We were useless for at least 10 minutes.
And he kept singing. And it was one of the most difficult things in my entire career to keep playing while he just finished the tune, pulled his pants back up, and walked behind his keyboard.
It was incredible. We couldn't believe that he let it go that far, but we figured, why not? It's something else they're going to talk about for the next 20 years. And here we are, talking about it.
At some point during the wedding, the bassist on stage takes out his unit and pees into the punch bowl. And he thinks that nobody sees it, but unfortunately the videographer caught it. And of course, the bride had a copy of it. So that's my club date story.
What happened?
Oh, God. Now I've heard everything.
I was playing here at Temple B'nai Shalom of Rockville Center. It was midnight on a Sunday, and I had played 5 club dates. And the job was over. It was over. And there were like 3 people left in the place. And this very drunk individual comes up to the band and he starts talking to the leader. Leader turns around and says, you guys want to do another half hour for $15 each? I think that was the amount. And I said, no. And the guy jumped over my drum set, knocked over all the drums, and grabbed me by the neck and proceeded to try to choke me to death. I'm going to kill him! 5 guys couldn't get this guy off me. So they finally get him off me, and they wrestle him to the ground, and they drag him over to this table. And now I start packing up, and the guy is sitting at the table growling at me. You know, I finally get my stuff out to this very dark alleyway, and as I got my car out there, and as I'm about to start putting the stuff in the car, I hear tables and chairs getting thrown aside, and I hear this guy, oh, let me at him, I'll kill him. The fight proceeded to move outside the place, and I was sitting in my car. I was kind of cowering in my car, and the leader is fighting with this guy, and the guy puts a karate chop through a conga drum. Next thing I know, the 2 of them are rolling up the hood of my 240Z, and they got their faces pressed against the windshield of my car, and the guy's screaming at me, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you, I will kill you, I will kill you. And the woman's in my ear saying, get out of here, start the car, get out of here. He's in the mafia, he's got a gun, he's gonna kill you. And I said, I gotta get my drums. She said, forget the drums, you come back and get them later, just drive away. Well, the thing was over, and P.S., the guy came back here every week for 5 weeks looking for me.
Ted Kennedy had taken a video camera off of one of the guests while he was singing Do-I-Diddy-Diddy-Dum-Diddy-Do, that's his favorite song, and he videotaped himself singing this, and when he was through, he took the camera and just threw it on the floor. So here's a cartoon portraying this party, and my birds screaming in the background.
I'm not sure how much levity was in the situation where when I was working at a nightclub that used to be in the basement of the Empire State Building called the Riverboat, and there was a very well-endowed female singer that was the featured entertainer. And she was dancing. She would bring up someone for the, from the audience to dance with her on stage during her very rambunctious performance of Proud Mary. And the guy dropped dead while dancing with her with his face in proximity to her endowments.
When I was in some club date band, we were on this boat called the Cabaret Boat doing somebody's party. I don't know, remember if it was even a wedding. Someone had a heart attack, died on the boat. We were probably only maybe an hour or 2 hours into the party. We were, sailing around the island of Manhattan. So we pulled into a Coast Guard station, dropped off the body, and went back out and partied. What the hell was that? Like it was 1999.
How politically correct do I have to be on these things? Kind of a white trash party.
Let it rip.
And,
the truth. It's a documentary. The
and
truth,
we're playing, and we're Mustang Sallying or whatever it is, and this old guy comes up to the bass and he's going up to everybody in the front line, going, "It's too loud, it's too loud," and everyone kind of like just sits, yeah, and they blow him off. And then he sees I'm sitting and I can't go anywhere. And he comes over to me and he leans in and he screams in my ear. He goes, "This band is too fucking loud. There's little kids in here. You're going to hurt somebody. What the fuck is the matter with you?" So I'm playing Mustangs. And I look at him, I said, "Sorry," like this. The next thing, this guy shoves me. I fall off my stool.
Oh my God.
I mean, he shoved me like let's go. Like you want to fight. Right? So my first instinct, I dropped the sticks and I stood up and I was like, okay, ready to go. And here I am, I'm face to face with like this 70-year-old guy. Now. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna hit this guy? So I said, no. So I just finally gets to him. Whoa.
The things that people go through and say. Yeah. So it's like, this is a great idea.
Well, I saw a cake go down once, and I remember saying, "Oh, then the band's gonna get cake," because it landed on the floor. I was actually at a wedding where I think a cake was supposed to be delivered, and it never arrived. Oh, God. So there was no wedding cake, and the
Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to let you know that we are all out of broccoli rabe.
Oh, God. Upon entering this one catering facility, where on the front of the building it said men's entrance with an arrow and women's entrance with an arrow, I knew there was something interesting going to go on inside. Something definite going on. The caterer, upon seeing me on the bandstand as the job progressed, got very upset because he never had mixed dining in this particular venue, much less mixed bandstand, meaning men and women. What a concept. So he was very upset. Should she go home? Can we put her in another room? And if she stays, then we have to put a screen around her. The same
On the
screen.
stage.
On the stage. Same screen that they use on the dance floor to divide the men's side and the women's side.
Right.
And they asked me what I thought. I said, well, I'm here. Might as well stay. This is another story for this project, or just to tell my mother. So, okay, bring on the screen. Caterer goes up to them, goes, blah, 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 blah. Now you got to put it around her on the bandstand. So there I am, enclosed in my little space, and I realized I'm not going to be able to see any signals that the band leader holds up their hand, to start the song, change the key. So they're going to pass along the information, and that's how I played the whole show.
The only disappointment is that you didn't get the world's best electric slide.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again.
575,000 people on one floor. Because you know that we could play that electric slide 5 times for every other song, and they would still, each and every individual in the room, waiters. We all took turns. Everybody's there. People come out of the kitchen, parking attendants.
Alan? They were humming it in the bathroom too, They were right in the next stall. The guy was doing it, and he was singing it wrong, terribly. But they love it just the same.
And they're all good too.
And they were perfectly in time.
There. Great feat.
point, he's really a little irate, and he goes, "So, how come you didn't play the Hawaiian Wedding song? I asked you 3 times." So at that point, I just pointed to the leader in back of me. I said, "Sir, you're going to have to talk to Sal. He's the leader of the band." So he walks over to the back, and he starts talking to Sal. And you could see some words exchanged. You know, I thought you were supposed to play the song and everything. And so Sal's trying to explain that we really don't know the song. And so he really got mad, and he insulted Sal. And Sal turned to him and said, "Sir, I think you've had a little bit too much to drink." And so he was holding a drink in his hand, and he said to Sal, "Oh, you really think so?" So he proceeds to pour the drink over Sal's head. And at that point, Sal got off his drums, and the guy he had a plate in his hand. He was ready to smack Sal. All of a sudden, the maitre d', a little 4'11" lady named Millie, comes running over and goes like this, "Stop right there." She takes them both in the back and straightens them out. P.S. the end of the story, he comes back and he apologizes, and "I'm sorry," and blah, blah, blah. And so I guess the moral of my story is, never promise a song you don't know. And there you have it.
That was Conrad.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you, Neil.
Okay, Pee-wee. What would you like to show us next?
Just for a goof, I played the entire candlelighting ceremony from behind the drums with my pants rolled down to my ankles. And I guess I just wanted to say I did an entire candlelighting ceremony with my pants off. Nobody was the wiser.
The saxophone player comes up to me and says, "Here's my wire." I turn around and I look at him and I think, this isn't a Jewish job. Why is he wearing a yarmulke? All right, whatever. I'm like thinking, should I tell him to take it off? I don't know. I plug in the wire, I turn around, I take a good look and I go, "Hi, my name's Donna Harris." And I realize that's not a yarmulke, it's his hair. It's like a wound around kind of a nice shiny, because it's sprayed, to keep it really like right in place. And I thought, this is gonna be some job tonight.
Bride all of a sudden decided she wanted to come up and make a toast. And she took her glass of champagne and asked for the groom to come up and join her. And said, "This is to my husband, whom I just found out was fucking my sister in the bathroom just a few minutes ago and has been fucking her for the last 2 months." Takes the champagne and pours it on his head. And then she says, "I want an annulment now."
No, actually, I was going to a showcase, a wedding showcase for a bunch of brides, and I ran out to go some guy was picking me up, and I go in the elevator, and out of the stairwell, this guy comes out with a knife, and he puts it up to my throat, and he said, "Give me your money." I didn't have any money on me.
Your building?
Yeah, and I said, "I don't have any money." And he goes, "Well, you better give me money, or I'm gonna get in the elevator, I'm gonna slice you up." I'm good, "Well, you're gonna have to slice me up." And then I went, all of a sudden I did like a Norton. I just went, "Fuck!" And I just like went nuts.
Seeing me and Julio down by the schoolyard. Seeing me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
I just feel that you guys were awesome, and you guys weren't even edited, and it sounded great.
Thanks. So are you guys getting married?
In a few years, probably.
Why? Well, how old are you?
Because I'm 20 and she's almost 18, so.
So what was your favorite song we played tonight?
The one, Who was it by Christina Aguilera, the same one as hers, but it was just a remake of it?
No.
Which one?
I don't know. I liked all of them.
Like, you know, your guys are just excellent. Like, honestly, it's not, I'm not just saying it either. Like, you guys are excellent.
We're getting ready to do another one, just like the other one. Hi, folks.
Well, there's some marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars are burning light. A fantabulous night to make romance sleep and go.
Interesting incident happened. My band leader was trying to help us out that day. We had a double, and he asked the maitre d' at the party that we were playing if there was any food left that we could have. And the maitre d' was like very surprised that my band leader even asked this, and he replied, he said, "Oh no, there's no food left. There's no meat left. All the meat had already been thrown to the dogs." He went to the local McDonald's and he got food for the whole band. And he came back, and there's a little hallway in front of the room where the party was taking place. And we all sat down on the floor in the hallway, and he opened up all the wrappers of the McDonald's. So when the staff saw this, they were horrified. They took us into the back room and they gave us whatever they had. And true to what they said, it was all vegetables. There was no meat left. It really had been thrown to all the dogs. All the meat had been thrown to the dogs.
I got this really tough double, okay? It's 70 miles between gigs. I can just make it. It's for two different leaders. And I hadn't had breakfast, of course. Play the first gig. They didn't feed the band, of course. Jump in my car, run to the second gig, get set up just in time to start playing. And of course, I haven't had anything to eat all day, and I'm dying. They come out with a buffet dinner. And after playing for that usual hour-and-a-half set that opens a party, I drag myself over to this buffet and I take like 4 shrimp and I put them on a plate. And I go to take my first bite out of the shrimp, the first morsel of food of the day, and I feel somebody pounding my back. "Excuse me, are you a guest at this party?" So I said, in manner of speaking, "Yeah, I'm in the band." He says, "What are you, a fucking wise guy? Let me tell you something. You touch another one of them fucking shrimp, I'll blow your fucking head off."
I was playing a country club, and I had a double. It was the second gig of the day, so I didn't have anything to eat. I was really hungry. And I'm setting up my equipment, and I see this beautiful shrimp platter, because I love shrimp, and it's just mounds of shrimp. And I'm looking at all the employees going by one at a time, and they're looking at it, and they're looking around, and they grab a shrimp and run, and the next guy's grabbing it, and this is going on and on. Everybody's just grabbing these shrimp, and they're running. So I figure I'll walk over there and just grab a shrimp. And I grabbed the shrimp, and the chef with this big white hat and the knife comes out of the kitchen and goes, "You better put that thing back, or I'm gonna, he's like threatening me with this knife." And I'm like, "Hey man, it's cool, man. I'll give you $1 for it. It's not worth that much to me."
Okay, now I have the shrimp with, it's 5 or 6 shrimp, cocktail sauce on the plate. And the caterer is actually trying to take this plate away from me. Now, growing up in Brooklyn, and really, truly not being afraid of any other human being as part of my upbringing, I refused to let go of the plate. And this plate went back and forth like a Three Stooges routine. Finally, the caterer was so determined, I started to feel bad. So I said to him, "Do you really want these shrimp?" He said, "Absolutely. We don't feed the musicians here." And so I gave him the shrimp. He wore the cocktail sauce and the shrimp. And the look on his face was priceless. He then opted to make this a physical confrontation. Of course, everyone stepped in and it never happened. And he was dismissed. He had to go home. He was that out of control. He had to go home over 5 shrimp. Of course, when the host found out about it, the host went crazy on the owner of the place because the owner of the place managed to charge this host for the band to eat. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was paid so that the band can eat. Why is he watching the band? What is the problem? Why is the entire society so negatively predisposed to feeling that musicians can be taken advantage of?
We got there, they didn't have rooms for us. They kicked us out. So we figured that a good revenge would be to put soap suds in their fountain, which we did. Next morning we drove by and there, and there they were fully blown out there. It was great.
You have to stay till 5:30 on the light of
The trumpet player snuck into the kitchen and found a potato and put it inside the tenor sax player's horn, in the bell of his horn, and of course we weren't going to say anything. And we actually forgot about it. And about 2 or 3 hours into the gig, he noticed his horn wasn't playing the way it should have. And he reached into his horn and he pulled out the potato and he got very upset and he threw it on the floor. And he was upset. The trumpet player was still laughing because there was a second potato in there.
One time we went to have a break, and we were at this thing, and they were playing some different music downstairs. So the band was getting fed, and we thought that was fine, and it just turned into a big fiasco. Those of you who were there, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I've lived to tell about it, and there you go. Thanks.
I've got a story about a job led by the late Eddie Ames. We miss him greatly. We're at the Woodcliff Lake Hilton, and the bat mitzvah girl was doing a candle lighting, and her grandmother came over to give her a kiss, and so she was leaning forward. The candle came back, and she lit her hair on fire. And Eddie was right behind her, so the photographer was doing the work, the videographer, and Eddie was right behind her, went. Pretty much the end of the story. He put the fire out.
There was a 14-piece band hired out in the Jewish Center, and the contractor called up and gave all the information and directions how to get there, and he told them specifically, when you go there, don't drive your car into the entrance. Go through the exit, because the entrance is, there's work being done, and it's very dangerous to drive your car. So he gave out 13 people's directions, and he put himself on the job. He gets there, he drives into the entrance, and totally messes up his whole car. The car would not go into forward. He messed up So at the end of the gig, he lives in the Bronx. He pulls out and he attempted to drive all the way home from Long Island on the Long Island Expressway in reverse.
Okay, so we do the second bar mitzvah 2 years later, and keep in mind that the mother was a music teacher at school. So the office gives me 2 female vocalists, black and white. White female vocalist can't sing solo, the black female vocalist can't sing harmony. So I basically said for the 2 of them to basically keep their microphones off, and it'll just be myself and Lori, my lead female vocalist. Well, at the end of the party, the hostess came over and complimented the band, raved about it, and she said, what a difference it made having the 3 girls instead of 2. That's the business.
Well, the first club I ever did, the club date I ever did, I gotta tell you. At first, I was afraid. I was petrified. I kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you've done me wrong. And I grew strong. And I learned how to get along. But now you're back from outer space. You just walked in to find, I just walked in to find you here with that sad look up on your face. See, I can't recite it, I'll do it over.
I used to be a club date sound boy. My career as a sound boy came to a startling end when the band leader fired me for handing out these sunglasses and Lays too soon.
And my, I guess, club date story was kind of interesting. I think it was in Terrytown, New York. I got a call and I was asked if I was available, and I said, well, actually I have a gig already, but it's an early start and I get off like about 10. He said, well, the gig starts at 9. If you could still come, you know, we'll still pay you regular money. And I said, ching, 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 ching. Regular money. I'm in Long Island. This is Terrytown. I'll be there. They gave me an address and everything. I got there. Got on the Parkway. Just driving. So I get to the place. I got there pretty quick because I was like, they call it white knuckling, but I don't have white knuckles when I drive. But regardless, you know, I was driving fast. And I got there in a timely manner. And I had my tux on, I'm all ready, and I go to the first room and I ask for the guy's name. Come to find out, it was no gig at all. I got there asking for someone, so people were looking at me like I had 3 left feet. Someone played a prank on me, a dirty prank. Sent me to Terrytown. I paid how many tolls, whatever, to get from where I was, spent gas to get up there, and there was no gig. No gig. And I have an idea who it was. And if I see your ass again, your ass is mine. You understand?
I think it's going like D on top, E flat on top, D on top, C.
Best man gives a toast. Goes, here's to Jimmy and Jean. May all their ups and downs be between the sheets. That was the toast. Then we're hanging out, we're playing music, and all of a sudden, like, a commotion breaks out, and I realize in, like, the lobby outside of the door, a massive melee fist fight broke out between all the men. There were like 40 guys punching the shit out of each other. They broke the handle off the door. The bride's mother went outside to see what was going on, fainted dead away in the parking lot. Ambulance took her away, thought she was dead. And this was followed by us playing a ballad with the bride sitting on the edge of the stage next to the groom. You've ruined my wedding, and you've ruined my life. Thank you very much. That was my first club date. Pretty nice introduction into the business. Thank you.
One of my favorites is a party at the Crest Hollow Country Club, a wedding.
where a fellow by the name of Jack Ehrenreich was the band leader. He was new to the business in terms of being a leader, and he was doing what is commonly known in the business as a screamer. This was a job where he was not the expected band leader, and he was expected to carry the party and collect the money, regardless of the fact that the band was not the band that the people hired. Party was going well. He had gotten over the hump of dealing with the people and letting them know that they would have a great party anyway, even though it wasn't the band that they had hired. And it came time for the throwing of the bouquet. And the bride got onto the dance floor, and all the girls got on the dance floor. And Jack had the drummer give a drum roll, and he counted to 3, and the bride threw the bouquet, and it went flying high into the air, and struck a crystal chandelier on the ceiling, and knocked loose one of the pieces of crystal from the chandelier, which fell directly on the bride's head and knocked her cold. She's lying on the floor out cold, and they send for paramedics. Paramedics come, and they actually put her on a gurney, and they're wheeling her out of the room. And the father of the bride is next to the bride as they're wheeling the gurney out. And Jack runs out of the room and is following the bride and the gurney and the medics down in the elevator, trying to get the bride's father to pay the bill before he leaves the building, because he knows it's the only way he's going to collect the money. Otherwise, he's never going to collect because it was the wrong band. And so Jack is pleading with the father as they're wheeling the bride out on a gurney. That was one of my favorite moments in Club Date history.
So I'm trying to, I have the names of the people that are lighting the candles. So I was doing the best I could, trying to play and make announcements for the very first time in my life. Then it happened. I said, coming up to light the next candle, Mr. and Mrs. Douche. And I heard, Deutsch, Deutsch. And I said, I swear, I said, sorry, I'm the douche.
And he says, and now our ugly bride would like to say a couple of words. And we all went, we were in shock. We went like, and I turned around and I said to Morvay, what did he just say? He said, the ugly bride would like to say a few words. I said, that's what I thought I heard him say. Anyway, the crowd just applauded as she walked up and she grabbed the microphone and she said a couple of words, and that was that. Herb came back on stage and Morvay says to him, Herb, you introduced her as the ugly bride. He said, no, I didn't. I said lovely bride. And everybody in the band said, Herb, 8 people heard you say ugly, clear as day. And he turned, I don't know, Herb turned a shade of red that I hadn't seen in a long time.
There was evidently a gig in one of these old catering halls in Brooklyn where one of the old-time waiters died in the middle of the job. And rather than disrupt the party, the people who ran the place put a folding screen around the waiter's dead body. So he was crumpled up in the corner in full view of the band as they played the whole job, but hidden from the view of the guests. So they watched this guy's body lie there the whole night, protected by a folding screen. That's story number 1. Someone in the party next door to the gig that they were working in died, unfortunately, choked on a fishbone and died. Bob Thomas, their leader, had gotten drunk and went out and kind of passed out on one of these rolling carts that they used to bring food from room to room. So when the paramedics came for the guy who actually had died in one room, they saw Bob Thomas there lying passed out on this food cart. And, of course, jumped on top of him and tried to revive him and started pounding on his chest and everything. And, of course, he, came to and was really indignant that they had, tried to intubate him or whatever it was.
The flaming, whatever it was, Sherry's Jubilee or the shish kebab or the schmata, whatever. The flaming, So the story goes that they're playing, they're about to bring out the flaming, whatever it's going to be this evening. And the band is already playing the Song of the Flame. The leader makes the announcement, ladies and gentlemen, the Shalimar is proud to present its Flaming Cherries Jubilee. And a waiter comes out on fire. And the story is that, now don't you wish this happened? He was lighting the thing and it got all over him and caught on fire, and he ran out screaming, and they put him out. The band is playing the song. That's what makes it so funny. People on fire in general are not that funny. But when there's music, particularly the appropriate tune, it takes on a whole new light.
And as they come out with the Viennese table, one of the legs of one of the tables collapses. And as it collapses and the desserts start to fall, this tureen of flaming something, I don't know whether it was a liqueur or something, spills on one of the guests, and the guest bursts into flames.
True story.
And as he's in flames, Dave Barrett, the singer, runs across the floor and tackles the guy and rolls him on the floor and puts out the flames. And as he puts out the flames, the band leader, Cy Cogan, grabs the microphone and yells, "How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Let's have a round of applause for Dave Barrett." So always make sure to take advantage of any possibility of publicity for the band.
You know, I think we ate a little bit, and the toasts start happening, and the priest comes up, and the priest is giving the blessing, and he tells a little story. The bride's name was Diane, and the groom was John. And he tells the story that, well, when Diane and John first came to me to discuss their wedding vows and asked me to marry them, Diane said to me, "Father, there's only one problem. I'm very much in love with John, but I think he has a problem with his faith." And the priest says, "What possible problem could he have with his faith?" And Diane says, "Well, John doesn't believe in hell." And the priest, in front of the entire wedding party, says, "Well, don't worry, Diane. After 6 months of being married to you with your mother as his mother-in-law, he'll believe in it."
Wedding photographer. Quick story, shooting a wedding at a church in Brooklyn. Just before the wedding, I approached the priest and I just, introduced myself and asked him if there were any do's or don'ts as far as shooting, on the altar. And the priest says to me in a very heavy Irish accent, he says, "You see the foot of the altar there?" He says, "Make believe it's a 50-foot wall and you can't climb over it. So just don't go near it." I said, "Fine, no problem. Whatever you say." So the wedding starts, and I'm looking up on the altar, and there's a guy with a video camera shooting on the altar. Blatantly shooting. And I'm thinking, if he's up there, I'm certainly going to try to get a better foot. So I put a foot up on, just a foot, just to get a good shot, a couple of good shots. I get what I need. The wedding's over. Outside after the ceremony, the priest comes up to me and he asked me, he said, "So did you go up there on the altar at all? I wasn't sure if I saw you there." I said, "No, actually, I did. I think I put one foot up on the altar, but just one, just to get a better shot, but it was just, and which foot might that be?" See, I don't know. I think it was my left foot. "That be the foot that is going to be sticking out of your grave, son."
The caterer, this guy with a German accent, came running in and he says, he goes right up to the band leader's face and he says, "You should know better. She's new here. That's not for you. That's for the people outside in the cocktail hour." So the leader very calmly says, "Let me get this straight. You don't want me to have the sushi?" And he says, "No, that's not for you. That's for the people outside." And he takes the sushi out of his mouth.
Well, I couldn't contain myself, so I just threw my hands up. And subsequently, the story became Sushi on the Ceiling. I'm able to recount this story almost without emotion because it's so matter of fact in the industry. Unfortunately, there are very few musicians that are willing to make the commitment, not only to themselves as human beings, but to their contemporaries, their compatriots, their co-workers, and stick together and absolutely demand that we get treated as the professionals that we are.
So the guy goes, "Get a ladder, get a ladder."
This I heard from the band leader. He had informed me of this story where there was actually somebody had defecated on the floor at an affair right in the middle of the dance floor. And everybody's looking at it, wondering what happened. And even the bride's father came up and looked at it and actually touched it. So Everybody's still confused looking, not knowing what's going on. True story. And gradually, they cleaned it up. But then they came to some conclusion that somebody, probably was a woman, it couldn't have been a man, was not wearing underwear, couldn't hold it in, and had a bowel problem, just dropped it on the floor and disappeared.
In the world of club dates, sometimes it can be really, really rough out there trying to maintain a sense of balance and autonomy. So it's important, once you've brought your microphone and your instrument of choice to play, to have a couple of other tools of the trade. Like for leaders that become a problem, very important to have a can of bullshit repellent with you, just in case if you need to spread the protective aura around you. And for those special times that you need a little bit of extra levity on a gig, I recommend bringing your own plastic turd to a job and putting it in places like the piano and on drummers' drum pedals. As a matter of fact, this came very effective when I put this in Peter Duchin's piano at the Bronx Botanical Gardens facility one day, and he opened up the piano. I'll show you. Allow me to demonstrate. When Peter Duchin opened up his piano on this particular occasion, look what he found. And a giggle and chortle was heard by all in proximity to the band. Tape at 11.
Of stories about funny stories and everything, but I'll let everybody else talk about that. But the story that I have to tell is of playing at a party and getting a kind of life in microcosm, and we're finishing up the gig, maybe 2 more songs to go, we're partying, and all of a sudden a gentleman has a heart attack and he falls down on the floor. People at first aren't sure, they're still dancing around, and they see this guy, and then all of a sudden this whole vibe changes, and I'm on the microphone, and I can see this guy's in trouble, and I'm yelling. I'm saying, everybody yell at this guy. What's his name? I think his name was Singh or something. He was an Indian guy. Everybody's yelling and screaming, get him, come on, get him going. Anyway, you go through this whole process, and then you can just see and feel the whole room start to decompress. They call 911. In that meantime, there's a doctor in the house, he's trying to revive him. People are all gathered around. 911 gets there, and then the realization of this gentleman dying on the floor sets in. And I can remember thinking how surreal it was and how interesting it would have been to have a camera and run it in fast motion or slow motion, and you just got this vibe. And this guy was actually an uncle or somehow related to the bride, so you can understand this was a wonderful party, 2 songs to go, and the whole vibe just changes. One by one, people slowly, the reality of the situation sinks in, and then they drift away slowly but surely. And I always wanted, it'd be interesting to see that from the beginning of the event to the end of the event. So that's my little story, and it's probably a little different. And I don't know how many people have had people die on their gigs, but it kind of was like life in microcosm, really quick, happiness and sadness and emergencies and good energy, and then all this bad stuff. And I just thought that was a pretty good story.
The leader turned around and he said, Gene Krupa. Of course, the point right at you, say Gene Krupa. And I said, okay, I guess that's boom, boom, ba-da-da, boom, boom, ba-da-da-da. So I started to play Gene Krupa drum solo, and I guess the people were ready for it because they had seen it before, and they all gathered around, all these World War II generation people, and they all gathered around the bandstand, and I'm giving it my best shot of Gene Krupa, and all of a sudden you hear this tremendous crash. Gong! And I can feel it now. It's like the whole building shakes, while I'm playing the solo. And I see this woman had just gone down. And the leader said, Neil, you're knocking him dead, man. You're knocking him dead. He thought that she had fainted. But the paramedics came, and she was dead. And that leader never played at that country club again.
We played a 50th wedding anniversary for a couple that had been tap dancing as a team since they were in their 20s, and their big song was Tea for Two. And we were to play that song during the affair, and they were going to dance and show the old films of them when they were back in the 20s. Right as the affair began, the gentleman who was one half the tap dancing team got a call from his son wasn't coming to the affair. He got so upset he had a heart attack, died on the way to the hospital. The son got up and announced that his father had just passed away. Everyone completely fell apart. And he then furthermore said to us that we and everyone at the party should stay because his father wanted it that way. He would like us to enjoy the night. That's what he thought. Couldn't argue. Everybody was too guilty to say anything to him. We had to continue to play, and we had to also do Tea for Two halfway through the night, which brought everybody back into complete tears again. And by the end of the night, an interesting phenomenon was that everybody had somehow shut down emotionally and went numb and was dancing and doing the Lindy in our fourth set as if nothing had happened by the end of the night. So that was the strangest experience I ever had in my club date world.
I just want to tell you about this band leader I worked with for years. And he's a friend, but he's a neurotic guy, a very funny guy. One time, like he's always putting his foot in his mouth, he had to, the bride said, announce that it's my grandmother, Mama Dell's birthday. Announce it, it's my grandmother. So he goes around with the wireless mic. He's like Donnie, we used to call him Donnie, parading around. And he says, where's Mama Dell? Mama Dell, it's Mama Dell's birthday. Where's Mama? Oh, there she is. Mama Dell, stand up, Mama Dell. Mama Dell, come on, stand up, Mama Dell. And here, I am standing. She was like 3 feet tall.
I thought I'd seen everything there was to see in this business after being in this business for like 15 years. And about a month ago, I'm at the University Club. And there's a microphone set up there, but there's no vocalist there. So I'm like, okay, well, who's this for? And the band leader says, well, it's for a male vocalist that's going to be coming in later on. So the gig starts, and there's no male vocalist. So I'm like, well, this is weird. Finally he shows up half an hour after the gig starts. And it turns out to be someone I know. So I'm like asking him, what happened to you? Why are you here so late? And he says, you know what? I've got another gig across the street, and I've got to go. I'm going to be leaving every half an hour, going back and forth from one party to the other. As it turned out, this guy, for the whole night, he'd sing 3 songs, run across the street, sing 3 more songs, come back, and he was just doing this all night long, and the bride and groom did not notice a thing.
Interesting story, very very cute story. We played at a wedding at Shelter Rock Jewish Center, and at the end of the party, Victor Rice, who was the bass player, was out in the parking lot getting ready to leave. Stopped to talk to somebody and to somebody else in the band, and happened to lean his bass, which was in a soft leather case, up against the back of John Michel's truck, small truck. John was the drummer. And while Victor was talking, John got into his car and started to back up. And as he backed up, he knocked the bass over and drove over it. Everybody saw this and started yelling at him. And when John heard, he quickly put the car in drive and drove forward and drove over it again.
Yeah, he did this.
So Victor was really apoplectic because he figured the bass was now totally bent, out of shape, and just totally unusable. However, upon further inspection, what he did was he grabbed the bass from under the truck and opened up the case, picked up the bass, looked at it, it looked fine, and he strummed it, and it was perfectly in tune.
Played this wedding for this Israeli band leader a couple of years ago at Trump Castle. It was actually for Donald Trump's daughter. Big band, huge wedding, like 600 people in the main ballroom. When they were getting ready to cut the cake, The bride and groom came up to the cake. And this band leader, he releases like his own tapes all the time, you know? So, in Israeli, he says to the crowd, in Israeli now, so he figured not too many people would really understand him, right? My tape is available for you on the bandstand. Please feel to come up and get a free copy. All of a sudden, man, the whole room mobs the floor, almost knocks over the wedding cake to get to the stage, and he's throwing cassettes like out to the crowd, you know, right in the middle of their cake cutting ceremony. Unbelievable.
And it was half Lebanese and Jewish. And we had a belly dancer and a whole Arabic band. So if the world could do as well as we did on that bar mitzvah, we wouldn't be having these problems right now.
The band took a break, went upstairs to eat dinner, and upon returning to the bandstand, somebody from the bar had leaned over and vomited on the drums and the cymbals and the Japanese bass player's vintage Fender jazz bass. And they were just throwing the guy out of the restaurant when the band came back and discovered this mess. And so then Takeshi, the bass player, took his bass into the men's room to hose it off and was saying, "I hate this country, I hate this country."
I stopped at the light. He stops at the light. I was behind him.
Did
I
you
didn't
stop
know.
at the light?
I hit his car. We had an accident. Boom. I
you
get out
hit
of
each
the car.
other?
Ready to fight. After we hung up the phone. Stop. He comes out.
Wait.
He comes out. Motherfucker, I'm gonna kick your ass. I get out of the car. You stop too quick and stuff like that. People were like looking at TV. Wasn't that funny?
Band is cooking. Everything's going well. Dance floor is filled with people. Maury's banging away on a cowbell. Old gentleman comes up, starts screaming at him. The band's too loud. Maury just ignores him. Hitting on the cowbell. We keep going. Band is smoking, we're digging in, we're grooving, people are dancing. This old guy comes up again. Screams at Maury. You're too damn loud. Maury ignores him. Sings his song, goes about doing the job. Finally, the guy comes up a third time. Screams in Maury's face, "You're too loud," and he says to him, "And you have no talent." That's when Maury suddenly stopped and said, "One thing has nothing to do with the other."
Maybe you have to be Jewish to appreciate this story, because it happened at a Jewish wedding. They invited this really elderly grandfather up to cut the challah. You know, the blessing is Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam al motzi lachem min u'oretz. That's what you're supposed to say, but you know, you say it slow. They invited this guy up to cut the bread. He gets up to the bread. He goes, Baruch atah. Challah. Cuts the bread. Goodbye.
The best thing about playing club dates that I can think of is you get to play your instrument or sing live with other people in your band that you have a musical and personal relationship with, in front of an audience, and you get paid for having some fun. You get to be a musician.
It's about the guys. It's really about the people I work with. That's the best thing about club dates.
Anyway, I think it was a take, right?
Where'd you hear that from?
You might as well turn this off.
Good, that's it.
notice I lift with the small of my back and with absolutely no technique. I toss it in with absolutely no respect for my instrument at all. Yep. Notice that as I lift this, I put my sexual future in jeopardy. One of the many operations I do so that I can make sure that my equipment is secure for the next club date. You're putting together, what are you doing? You're putting together a club date movie? Yeah. God.
Tony, you're not supposed to feel self-conscious. You're just
oh, no, I'm not. I'm actually loading up. I'm not self-conscious. I'm loading up my car.
You're just going on, with your normal business.
I'm just saying what I'm thinking. That's all.
What's this for, Neil?
This is for his own amusement.
A song that's from S Club 7, but I don't know what the name is. but I'll just sing it. You'll always be the dream that fills my head. Yes, you will say, well, you know you will, baby. You'll always be the one I know I'll never forget. There's no use looking back or wondering. There's a stranger attack on my friend. So this I know, but still I can't find a way to let you go. I never found a dream come true till the day that I found you. Even though no matter where life takes me to, you'll always be my baby.
Yay!